Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Alison Luff about Heels, which is going to be premiering August 15th on Starz. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me. Hi.
It's exciting. I find it very interesting because for people that have followed your career, you come from the Broadway theater background. And a lot of people like myself who grew up watching pro wrestling or fans of pro wrestling, wrestling can be seen as the spectacle of excess. Theater, right? It's performing.
Yeah, for sure.
So a little bit of a full circle moment for you on this show, kind of.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that, going into it, I definitely didn't know a whole lot about wrestling. And then the more I dove into it, I was like, this is theater. It's just another form of storytelling. And some people would say it's kind of camp in a way, but I've also learned that it is very real. I mean, the only thing that is fake about it is the ending. That's the only thing that is not fake, that is predicted. It's the ending. Everything else is real. I am watching these people like take bumps and hit the mat hard, and you hear it. And so all my reactions in the show are very authentic and very real. And a lot of them are like, ooh.
Oh, for sure. It's pretty cool too because Stephen Amell is a big fan of pro wrestling, and I think that just makes it better because he has that interest and that like perspective as well, and like pro wrestling fans also know the passion, and that show it has a lot of the passion in it. Did you notice that there was like that passion as when you're reading the script of these characters? That there's a lot of things happening, and it's very passionate overall.
For sure. I mean, that's what drew me to the script. If I just saw a breakdown for a show about wrestling, I probably would be like, oh, cool. All right. But it really is. I mean, I like to call it it's a Southern family drama. It kind of reminds me of Friday Night Lights and the fact that you don't have to love football to love the show. The characters are so well-rounded and so developed. You definitely see yourself in all of it, if not all of these characters. And that's what I'm drawn to. I'm drawn to the relationships. I'm drawn to the drama. I'm drawn to the unresolved trauma that they carry with them. And, watching that unfold, I think that's what I relate to as an audience member, and or as a viewer, as somebody who I'm such a theater gal. I'm like an audience member as a viewer. And, as an actor, when you're looking for a role, you're always looking for somebody who's well-rounded with depth, who gets to show their, trauma.
It's pretty cool. It's so true. Like Heels specifically too is kind of like a two-headed monster in a way, where it is about pro wrestling, but it's like about way more than that. It's about life. Right. I mean, but the thing is, there's some things like with Ace, Alexander Ludwig's character, there's just some things that are said to people that just kind of hit so hard, almost like a wrestling move.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is crazy. For you, I think it's pretty cool too because especially people are going to see the first episode. I mean, you do have an opportunity also in the show to sing, which I think is pretty awesome. Was that like in the script? Like, I'm just curious how the singing came to be. Like, did you know that there was going to maybe be some opportunities to sing in the show, like, or they threw it in there? I'm curious about that actually.
No. When I read the script, there was nothing about singing. She never sang. There was nothing about that. It wasn't until I was cast in the role that, the producers and the writers were like, well, we kind of have to take advantage of this other thing that you do. And which I loved, and at first I was kind of not skeptical, but I thought, okay, well, I didn't really think of me singing. And then I really, really fell in love with the idea that I get to do something else that another form of storytelling that I love to do. And yeah, so they kind of wrote that in after I was cast. It wasn't in the original script. And I love it. I like that. I like that they didn't just, make me a singer. I look at it as she sings kind of as a way of paying tithe. She goes to church, and I think on the page you could see this woman and think, oh, she is the young matriarch. She's pious. She's a stay-at-home mom. And you might have a preconceived notion about her, but she views church as a sense of community. She views it as a tradition that
Yeah.
she loves and a chance to be among her family and her
Mm-hmm.
friends. And I think that's a really cool, somebody who didn't grow up going to church, I kind of like to view it that way. And I think it's a really cool, I think it's a really special part of the character. And then I look at her singing as, she sings in the church band, and it is kind of her way of paying tithes. It's her contribution to the bake sale, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And she just feels like, that's the way that she can contribute.
I find it very interesting. I'm just curious because you talk, like, I've interviewed a lot of pro wrestlers, and they say, even they've been, like, when they go on wrestling tours, they do show after show. There's always kind of those jitters and kind of rush you get before you go out and perform. You and your career on Broadway with Wicked and Waitress, I mean, you do show after show and you do the same role over and over again. Do you still get that same, like, rush, like 5-10 minutes before every time, even though you're used to going out and doing it? Like, what's that like for you?
I do, for sure. I didn't actually, I grew up doing theater since I was 10, and I didn't used to get nervous. It wasn't until my adult life that it actually wasn't until Wicked that I really started to get, of course I had, jitters before then,
Yeah.
but it wasn't until Wicked that I actually kind of started developing a small form of stage fright that I then had to overcome. And yeah, I still get nervous for sure. Last night we had a screening premiere here in New York, and we had a talk back afterwards, and there was something so surreal being backstage, because I haven't been in a theater in
a while.
a year and a half. I don't even know how long, because of the way that the world is. And it was very emotional, actually. And I was just thinking, oh my gosh, it feels so good to be on a stage. But I was a little nervous. So yeah, I for sure get jitters, and more so some nights than others. I actually find that I don't get as nervous when I don't have anyone in the audience, and I actually prefer when I'm doing theater. I don't like to know when people come. I don't like to know when my family or my friends are coming. They can come, and then I'll see them afterwards. But I definitely still get nervous.
So the show is not out yet. It's going to be coming out August 15th, but I'm sure, Steven and, other people that are working on the show with you who like wrestling have told you. Wrestling fans are very passionate and they're very loyal. Are you preparing yourself for the potential craziness to come? Because it's going to be crazy. It's going to be cool.
I am definitely, because I would say Wicked fans and Waitress fans are also very passionate.
So you're used to it.
I'm ready for this. No, and I think I love that I get to play, the wrestler's wife, so to speak, because I watched a lot of documentaries going into it, and did a lot of research on trying to find, wives of wrestlers and their interviews and their take on the world. And even though I'm not on the mat, or Stacey's not on the mat, she's very much part of the show. It is her, responsibility to remain in kayfabe and to cheer for her heel, and to, she is very much part of the show, even though she's in the audience. And I like that aspect. And I also like that she cheers for the heel, and she's also known as, this Georgia Peach sweetheart.
It's not really a spoiler, but I think people are really going to enjoy the Spade dynamic with the brothers, with the actual the heel in the ring. Yeah,
that's pretty good. I like it. I would watch it.
It is amazing there. The obvious answer to this question is you hope they enjoyed it. You hope they enjoy the wrestling component of it, and then everything else we talked about, because it's more than just about wrestling heels on Starz. But diving deep into it a little bit more, Alison, when people watch the show, what are you hoping they get out of it, takeaway wise?
This sounds pretty deep, but I would say, I think that, other than, like you said, other than the wrestling, other than the entertainment factor of it, I think that this show really touches on dreams, and what it's like to have a dream, and what it's like to have to hustle, and what it's like to have to put your dream aside, because you just have to put one foot in front of the other. And I constantly think of the Casey Musgrave song "Merry Go Round."
Yes,
I would listen to that in my trailer all the time before going on set, because I just love the fact that we get to really, put a lens on these real people, and they're not just people that are privileged that get to live their dreams. They're people that sure, everyone has dreams, but also the priority sometimes is just putting one foot in front of the other and getting through the day and paying the bills. And I love that the show also touches on, like I said earlier, kind of the unsolved trauma and the trauma that hasn't been dealt with.
Yeah.
And I think that we all carry a lot of that. And I think probably coming out of this year, we're all carrying a lot of that, and it shed a lot of light into our own lives. And I think this show does a really good job of that, in the fact that, you got to talk about your shit.
But I find it interesting too, because they're going to see it, Duffy, Georgia, like small town, but big personalities, big issues, right? Like I find that ironic as well, right?
For sure.
There's nothing small about a lot of the things that the characters are going through.
No, and we all go through them, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're in a small town, whether you're in a big town, we all have, like I said, we all have our shit.
Yeah. Absolutely. The Friday, you talked about Friday Night Lights briefly. I find that interesting because I grew up a sports fan all my life. Sports shows and movies, they're not like, there's not one like every like week that comes out or anything, but they come out. But when they come out, they hit hard and people are excited about it. But I'm curious about this thing we were going back and forth with about, sports shows not being only about sports. Like you don't have to be like a sports fan to like it. I just wanted to know, curious about you. Did this though make you want to be like a pro wrestling fan after working on a show like that? Because you didn't really know about it before that, but did it kind of make you want to watch it or go to a show? Have you thought about that at all?
Oh, for sure.
Maybe it can make wrestling fans. Someone goes into it not knowing about wrestling, it can make wrestling fans.
I think you're right on point. I think totally. I mean, I grew up, I have 3 brothers, and none of them were, I would say none of them were huge fans of wrestling, but definitely my older brother that's closest to me in age, it would be on every once in a while and I would watch it and I would just kind of be like, what? This is weird. Right? I don't even know what's happening. I don't get it. But I mean, what really drew me to it was watching all these, obviously the show, but also watching all these documentaries, Beyond the Mat and Dark Side of the Ring. And that's kind of what got me really geared up and excited to, tap into the wrestling world of heels. And then I think playing, Stacy and being in this world that she didn't necessarily ask for has definitely drawn me to wrestling. And I would love to go to a show. I mean, it is such heightened entertainment. And those were some of my favorite days on set. And, they weren't heavy days for me. I was really just, in the audience watching these people, watching my fellow castmates do their thing. But it is so entertaining. The athleticism is insane.
But it's funny, how the people say about fake, and it's addressed in the show in the beginning of episode 1 after church. I love that scene. Not spoilers, but I love that scene where you're all talking, right?
Of course, yeah.
But fake is, I've never understood that, because when someone does a stunt for a movie, they're doing the stunt.
Yeah, exactly. It's not fake. Exactly.
They're stuntmen and stuntwomen. That's what they do.
And I will say these actors, they're all doing, yes, we have an incredible stunt team that jumps in when they need to, but a lot of these guys are doing their own stunts. I mean, I remember the first day that I saw Xander go on the top rope and do a backflip. And I was like, what the heck? Do you know how to do that? He's like, oh, I actually, I just taught myself 5 minutes ago because I really wanted to do it. And he grew up, I think it was skiing. So he's, he's definitely an athlete, to say the very least. Yeah. And, James Harrison, with his football career, he knows how to tackle. I would not want to be in the ring with him. And Alan Maldonado and Steven and Robbie and Trey, they are all, they worked really hard. They were in the gym nonstop. And Duke Roberts, he has a history in fighting. And, these guys are working their butts off, and it is so entertaining to watch.
Absolutely. Alison, I wanted to thank you so much for coming on Popternative, the Chat About Heels. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It was so fun talking to you. You're so easy to talk to.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. So August 15th on Starz, Heels is going to be premiering, so everyone's going to be able to see that. And where can people follow you on social media to keep update with everything?
It's very original. Are you ready for it?
Yeah.
at Alison Luff.
Wow, so original. I love it.
And I also have a band, and my band is at Big Sur Bound.
Amazing. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative. For previous episodes, you're going to be able to catch Alison Luff on Heels on Starz August 15th. Tonight's Allison and Petey Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.